This video is about testing FTS in real-world conditions. The test setup consists of a master with a directional antenna, two slaves which are connected with coaxial cable into SDR. The SDR feeds the data into Linux host, which visualizes this metric on Grafana dashboards. To simulate less than ideal conditions, I will generate Wi-Fi traffic with these two wireless networks. A sophisticated platform to move the master around. I will rotate it to simulate variations in signal strength and time of flight. And a Faraday cage to simulate non-line of sight and reduce signal strength. The first test setup device will be stationary within line of sight around 5 meters. This is a master. This is slave number 6. This is slave 5. This dashboard shows relative delays between pulses generated by two slaves. The slaves sync into the same master, but otherwise are completely independent from each other. They generate 2 kHz pulses which are captured and compared by the SDR. The plot on the top left shows 120,000 pairs of pulses are captured every minute. The histogram on the right shows distribution of these relative delays. The two plots at the bottom of the screen show few other metrics calculated over a 1-minute window. Mean value is yellow. The standard deviation, also known as RMS jitter, rendered as 2 orange lines. Green and blue lines are absolute mean and max phase errors. On the bottom right side, we plot jitter deviation from mean statistics, also calculated over a 1-minute window. Here, maximum jitter deviation from mean was 80 nanoseconds. For the half of all pulses, jitter was below 15 nanoseconds. And for 99% of the pulses, the jitter was below 60 nanoseconds. In the second test, I will spin the master. It has a directional antenna, so spinning will create reflections, lead to multipath and variations in signal strength and time of flight. The devices are still in the same room, so it's still kind of line of sight, 5 meters or so. Let's look at the telemetry for the second test. Jitter 22 nanoseconds, P99 57 nanoseconds, and maximum was 80. Now I will switch to second test. You can see metrics have barely changed. Jitter grew from 22 nanoseconds to 24. P99 grew from 57 to 67. And maximum grew from 80 to 100 nanoseconds. You might wonder if the system is actually working. Well, let's shut down the master and see what happens to the telemetry in real time. I will pull the plug out of master now. I will activate the master again. Let's have a look what was going on when we powered off and powered on the master. Let's zoom in to 10 seconds before master was powered off and 10 seconds after. So here we can see slaves were receiving FTM updates and they were adjusting the frequency constantly. Somewhere around here, master was switched off and there was no updates for a while. And we were lucky enough for oscillator on the slaves to be sufficiently stable to keep the frequency. And then something has changed here. And the clocks started to deviate. Here the master was switched on, and as soon as slaves locked into it, they started to compensate the clocks. For the third test, I'll put a master in microwave oven. The master will be moving from the lab to the kitchen, then it will stay stationary for a while, and then I will move it back. I expect significant signal strength drop. There will be no line of sight. There are a couple of concrete walls between the lab and the kitchen. Let me move the master into the oven now. I will keep the screen capture rolling so you can see what happens while I move the master. Well, there is not much to see in telemetry. We see a few outliers, but in general, metrics stay pretty much the same. The master was sitting in the oven for 20 minutes. We see no real impact on the metrics. Let me move back the master back to the lab. Summarize result of this test. We have observed 10,000 times power loss and 4 times increase in time of flight. A few nasty outliers up to 246 nanoseconds, but otherwise metrics stay the same. We see 22 nanoseconds RMS jitter, and 99% of the pulses arrive within 60 nanoseconds phase error. A few nasty outliers up to 246 nanoseconds, but otherwise metrics stay the same. We see 22 nanoseconds RMS jitter, and 99% of the pulses arrive within 60 nanoseconds phase error. In the next test, I will flood Wi-Fi channel. It should increase variance of time of flight and drop success rate for FTM. Here I have been running flood test for last half an hour. You can see that every FTM session results in around 30 successful FTM reports, and looks like it's enough to keep the system going. So we see same 22 nanoseconds jitter, 60 nanosecond P99, no major outliers. And the last test I will move the master 2 floors up, cover it with metal and one of the slave devices as well, and will flood the Wi-Fi channel. So this will drop the signal strength, increase time of flight, and I expect FTM success rate to drop dramatically. On this dashboard, I can see FTM status, which is 0, meaning all FTM sessions succeed. Number of successful transactions on FTM level, it's less than before because of the signal loss. We can see that it's around minus 80 dBm. And let's see what happens when I start the traffic flood. Here is the telemetry for 20 minutes of flooding. We see severe impact on FTM. A lot of sessions fail, and even if sessions succeed, only a few requests go through. The linear regression struggles. Residuals go into 100 nanoseconds versus few nanoseconds usual. We can see interruption in the local clock of slave 6. I think it has crashed. Here is pulse statistics. We can see that slave 6 had rebooted at some point. Also, for some reason, we had overflow of SDR also around the same time. I need to look into it. Let's look at the metrics during flood. Jitter RMS grew to 100 nanoseconds, and outliers up to 800 nanoseconds. So yeah, it struggles, obviously. And now we are looking at its performance after the flood has stopped. We can see that it's recovered pretty much immediately. And the jitter is back to normal values. P99 as well. Based on results of this test, we can see that FTS works in low signal strength and high time of flight conditions. It can survive Wi-Fi flood if signal strength is high enough. It maintains a low Jitter RMS below 25 nanoseconds with P99 below 60 nanoseconds. As expected, it starts to fail when FTM success rate drops. We saw impact on performance of Wi-Fi flood together with low signal strength. We also saw that outliers appear when master moves. This probably related to mechanical stress on crystal oscillator of the master. Regardless of the outliers, jitters figures stay okay.